Corner, he stands, signaling what is called, weighing in at 172 pounds. Fighting out of Cuba, Para, Brazil, Michel Pereira!
Crazy capoeira master setting the UFC on fire, Michel Pereira. If you ever caught a UFC fight featuring Michel Pereira and thought, what on earth did I just witness? Well, you're not alone. This guy brings a whole new level of crazy to the Octagon, and it's absolutely electric. Picture this, a fighter who doesn't just fight, but performs. And that's Michel for you, a capoeira master turned MMA sensation who's been flipping, spinning, and downright dazzling his way through the UFC. He was more about expressing himself through the art of capoeira, a Brazilian martial art that combines elements of dance, acrobatics, and music. But as fate would have it, his passion for combat and flair for the dramatic led him down the path to mixed martial arts and eventually to the biggest stage in the sport.
What a night for Michel Pereira.
And he's out to prove that his style will translate against the foremost welterweights in the world, right? He's never going to lose that trademark showman of the UFC shtick, right? But he believes that his style will translate, and man, it could...
Michel Pereira is not just a fighter. He's a showman, a performer who thrives under the bright lights of the UFC. He's the kind of athlete who brings fans to their feet, not just for his fighting skills, but for the sheer unpredictability and entertainment he brings to every bout. Whether you love him for his athleticism or his antics, there's no denying that Michel has carved out a unique niche for himself in the UFC, setting the Octagon ablaze with every fight. So, who exactly is this Michel Pereira dude, aside from being the guy turning the UFC into his personal circus? Born and raised in the dust and the heat of Maraba, Brazil, Michel didn't exactly have an easy path laid out for him. But what he did have was a burning passion for movement and a knack for turning heads whenever he stepped into a room or, in this case, a fight. From a young age, Michel was all about capoeira, that mesmerizing Brazilian martial art that's as much about rhythm and dance as it is about knocking someone's lights out. Imagine a young Michel flipping around with the grace of a dancer, but the intent of a warrior, and you've got the picture. It was clear from the get-go that he was destined for something that combined his love for performance with his fighting spirit. Michel had to adapt his capoeira skills to fit the multifaceted world of mixed martial arts, where you're as likely to get taken down and submitted as you are to land a flashy spinning kick. But adapt he did, infusing his MMA style with the flair and unpredictability of capoeira. It wasn't just about being effective in the cage, it was about being unforgettable. His journey from capoeira showcases in Brazil to the high-octane octagon of the UFC is a testament to his dedication, versatility, and sheer force of personality. Michel Pereira didn't just bring capoeira to MMA. He brought a whole new level of showmanship and creativity, proving that even in the toughest fights, there's always room for a little bit of magic. Before Michel Pereira became a household name in the UFC, he was tearing it up on the regional scene, like a boss. With an impressive record of 11 wins and just 4 losses, he was already making waves in the martial arts world. You know, just casually making his opponents eat dust while he danced circles around them. But Pereira wasn't satisfied with just dominating the local circuits. Nah, he had bigger dreams and ambitions than that. So he packed his bags, waved goodbye to his hometown, and ventured into the wild world of local promotions. One of his stops? The XFC, where he didn't just show up, he showed out. Now picture this, Pereira strutting into the XFC arena like he owns the place, confidence oozing from every pore. And why wouldn't he be confident? He had the skills, the moves, and the charisma to make even the toughest opponents quake in their boots. And let me tell you, Pereira didn't disappoint. With his trademark capoeira-inspired style, he wowed the crowd and left his opponents wondering what hit them. Superman punches? Check. Gravity-defying acrobatics? Double check. It was like watching a martial arts master and a professional dancer rolled into one unstoppable force. But Pereira wasn't just there to put on a show, though he did do that too, and damn well. No, he was there to prove himself, to show the world that he was destined for greatness. And with every win, every knockout, he inched closer to his ultimate goal, the UFC. So yeah, before Pereira was setting the UFC on fire, he was already blazing a trail in the regional circuits. And let me tell you, those local promotions were lucky to have him, because when Pereira steps into the cage, you know you're in for one hell of a ride. Capoeira and MMA sound like they're from different planets, right? One's got its roots deep in Brazilian history, originally developed by African slaves as a form of resistance disguised as dance. The other, a no-holds-barred combat sport that throws everything from boxing to wrestling into the mix. But when these worlds collide, you get something pretty spectacular, and no one embodies this fusion quite like Michel Pereira. So a tiny history lesson. Capoeira is all about fluid movement, sneaky attacks, and a kind of grace that makes it look more like a performance than a fight. It's got this whole philosophy of freedom and creativity, making the most of the space around you and turning your body into an unpredictable weapon. And it's not just about fighting. There's a rhythm, a dance, a music to it that's just as important. Now, enter Michel Pereira, stage left. Now, this guy looks at the Octagon like it's his stage, and he's ready to put on a show every time. He takes those capoeira moves, those spins, those flips, and all that acrobatic wizardry, and mixes them into his MMA game. And it's not just for show either. Those capoeira kicks come from angles that most fighters aren't used to defending against, and his ability to move quickly and fluidly makes him a tough target to pin down. What Michel does isn't just about blending art and combat, it's about challenging the norms of what fighting looks like in the UFC. He takes the capoeira philosophy of creativity and freedom, and he runs with it, turning every fight into a spectacle where you're never quite sure what's going to happen next. It's risky, sure, but it's also what makes him one of the most thrilling fighters to watch. Michel Pereira bursting onto the UFC scene was like dropping a Technicolor bomb in a monochrome world. This guy didn't just show up, he kicked down the door with flair, backflips, and a fighting style so unpredictable you'd think he was making it up on the spot. His debut? UFC Fight Night 152, Rochester, New York, 2019. Pereira faces Danny Roberts, and the MMA world braces itself for what's next. Now imagine being in Roberts' shoes. You're in the Octagon, ready to throw down, and across from you is this whirlwind of energy, bouncing around like he's plugged into the mains. Then, boom! The fight barely gets going before Michel lands a flying knee and follows it up with a punch that sends Roberts to dreamland. First round, less than 2 minutes in, and Michel Pereira announces his arrival with a performance that's more blockbuster action movie than MMA fight. And that's just the appetizer. As he racks up more fights, it becomes clear Michel isn't here just to win, he's here to entertain. Sure, not every outing is a highlight reel knockout. There are ups and downs, wins and losses. Yet, even in defeat, Pereira's style, his capoeira flair, and his sheer unpredictability keep fans on the edge of their seats. Wins against guys like Diego Sanchez and Salim Imadaev showcase his striking power and his ability to control the fight, turning the Octagon into his personal playground. Michel's rise isn't just about accumulating wins, it's about challenging the very idea of what a fight can be. And he's not just a fighter, he's an entertainer, a performer, and every time he steps into the cage, he's rewriting the script on what it means to be a UFC fighter. Michel Pereira doesn't just fight, he performs. And like any great performer, he's got a repertoire of signature moves that could easily double as circus acts. First up, let's talk about those backflips. Who even thinks, you know what this fight needs? A backflip. Well, Michel does. And it's not just showboating. He's used these as actual attacks, trying to land on opponents with the precision of a cat. And then there's the Superman punch, a classic move made fresh by Pereira's flair. He doesn't just throw it, he launches himself like he's trying to punch through dimensions. It's a move that catches opponents off guard, breaking through defenses with the power of a freight train. One of the most memorable showcases of his unique style was against Danny Roberts in his UFC debut.
All right, don't blink, folks. And he's showing some well-roundedness. He gets caught there. There we go. There we go. Showtime. Wow, I mean, there's the entertainment. Wasn't lying. Body kick there. Yeah, that little front. Whoa. Wow, Superman punch after some fancy footwork. And he is an awkward fighter to his credit. Taking it. Oh! Flying knee!
That fight was a statement. Michel's arsenal was more than just traditional strikes. It was a mix of capoeira, acrobatics, and unpredictability. But it's not all about the flashy stuff. Against Diego Sanchez, despite the win coming through a disqualification, Michel displayed a level of control and versatility, proving he wasn't a one-trick pony. Then in his fight with Zelim Imadaev, Michel mixed in his theatrics with strategic fighting. From slapping Imadaev mid-fight to engaging in taunts, he showcased not just his physical capabilities, but also his psychological warfare in the Octagon. His performance against Imadaev was a master class in entertainment, but also a demonstration of his evolving fight IQ.
Michel Pereira is doing his thing. His defense, man, is fantastic. Even in the fights where he hasn't fought his absolute best, his defense has always been pretty good.
Michel Pereira's fights are a reminder of why fans love MMA. At its best, it's unpredictable, thrilling, and an absolute spectacle. His signature moves aren't just for show. They're calculated risks that often pay off, leaving fans and opponents alike in awe. For Michel, the Octagon isn't just a battleground, it's a stage. His philosophy seems to be, if you're going to fight, why not put on a show? And boy, does he deliver. From backflips off the cage to theatrical entrances, Pereira understands the value of entertainment in combat sports. And it's not just about the win for him, it's about making sure everybody watching gets their money's worth, and then some. But Michel isn't the first to mix entertainment with athleticism in the UFC. Legends like Conor McGregor and Anderson Silva have also known the importance of the show. McGregor, with his razor-sharp wit and penchant for spectacle, turns press conferences into must-see TV and fights into blockbuster events. Silva, meanwhile, dazzled fans with his Matrix-like movements and seemingly supernatural ability to dodge and weave, all while maintaining a calm, almost serene demeanor. Yet, Pereira's brand of entertainment is distinct. Where McGregor uses his words and Silva his uncanny reflexes, Pereira uses his entire body and the space around him as his canvas. He draws from the theatricality of capoeira, turning each fight into a performance where the unexpected is the only expectation. In a sport that's as much about the fans as it is about the fighters, Pereira's approach is a breath of fresh air. He reminds us that, at its heart, MMA is a spectacle and he's here to dazzle. While the ultimate goal is always to win, Michel Pereira ensures that win or lose, you'll remember his fights. That's his gift to the sport. The reminder that amidst the chaos, there's room for artistry, for showmanship, for entertainment. Michel Pereira's career is like a blockbuster movie. Thrilling, unpredictable, and not without its share of drama and controversies. For starters, Michel's flamboyant fighting style, while a fan favorite for many, does have its detractors. Critics argue that his penchant for theatrics might overshadow the discipline and strategy traditionally associated with MMA. Fight, don't dance, some say, questioning whether the Octagon is the place for Pereira's capoeira-infused performances. Yet it's this very debate that keeps the MMA world buzzing. Pereira challenges the norms, pushing the envelope on what fighting entertainment means. Weight mishaps have also dotted Michel's journey. Missing weight in professional fighting is a significant faux pas, highlighting discipline issues or miscalculations in the fight prep. For an athlete whose career is as much about spectacle as it is about combat, these slip-ups serve as humbling reminders of the sport's unforgiving standards. Perhaps the most notable controversy came during his bout against Diego Sanchez. Pereira was clearly ahead, but an illegal knee turned the tide, resulting in a disqualification. This incident sparked heated discussions on fighter conduct, rule enforcement, and sportsmanship. While some viewed it as a momentary lapse in judgment, others saw it as a blemish on Pereira's otherwise stellar ascent, underscoring the fine line between risk-taking and rule-breaking. Despite these controversies, Michel's career is a testament to the dynamic nature of MMA, a sport that continually evolves, both inside the cage and out. His story raises questions about the balance between entertainment and competition, discipline and creativity. As much as Pereira is celebrated for his exhilarating performances, these challenges remind us of the complexities and pressures at the heart of professional fighting. When it comes to training, Michel Pereira is as much an artist as he is an athlete. His routine isn't just about lifting weights or hitting pads, it's a holistic blend of strength, agility, and the kind of cardio that would make mere mortals gasp for air. Imagine the intensity of traditional MMA training, then add in the acrobatics of capoeira, flips, spins, and moves that require not just muscle, but also an incredible amount of precision and control. It's a regimen that builds not just a fighter, but a performer capable of those show-stopping moves in the Octagon. But here's the kicker. Michel's approach to training is deeply intertwined with his life philosophy, drawn heavily from the capoeira tradition. It's about balance, rhythm, and the flow of energy, not just in the ring, but in everyday life. Pereira sees fighting as an expression of self, a way to communicate without words. His training, therefore, isn't just about preparing for a fight, it's about honing his ability to express himself, to tell a story with every move he makes. This philosophy extends beyond the physical aspects of training. Mental preparation, focus, and the ability to adapt on the fly are just as crucial. Capoeira teaches flexibility not just in body, but in mind, allowing Michel to stay one step ahead of his opponents, anticipating moves in a dance where he always seems to lead. After lighting up the UFC with his flashy moves and jaw-dropping performances, Michel Pereira decided it was time to take things up a notch. The future might just see more fighters blending capoeira with their techniques, adding to the diversity and richness of MMA.